Yes, we are back again to talk about peace and governance in the context of other philosophers. And today we are talking, and discussing about Aristotle. What will Aristotle will have to tell us today through Mr. Dixon? So let's hear from him, and then I know more what he would have to tell us about Aristotle. Meanwhile, this is a faculty of Master of Arts in Peace Studies and Diplomacy, and this course is Peace and Governance. And I happen to be the facilitator, and my name is Dr. Emmanuel Nweke Okafo. So this is a classroom presentation. So let us hear from His Excellency and Professor of today's class, Mr. Dixon. Okay, you can go ahead, sir.
Okay. Good day, Professor. My colleagues in the class. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dixon, and your co-students. And today we're going to be attempting at what I titled Aristotle's contribution to peace and governance. And then mentioning the word Aristotle, first of all, is a name that's almost like, that rings a bell for most scholars today. And even young scholars will be proud to sometimes use it as pet names and then pseudonyms.
Okay.
Talking about Aristotle background, from studies, he's a philosopher, and philosophers are known to be thinkers. And then firstly, like we have on the screen already, we're going to quickly be looking at the background of the man known as Aristotle. Aristotle was one of the most influential philosophers of ancient Greece, whose works and theories continued to shape modern thought on ethics, politics, governance, and peace. His comprehensive approach to human behavior, community, and rationality provides timeless insight into the principles underlying societal stability and harmony. He was born in a place called Stagira in Greece. Aristotle was the son of Nicomachus, a physician to the Macedonian king. His early exposure to medicine and natural sciences likely at the age of 17, Aristotle joined. And please, can we pause? I left my.
Yeah, we are still on the life and intellectual journey of the great philosopher Aristotle, and we would soon see how his contribution to the world of philosophy and politics relates to governance and peace. Okay, continue.
Okay, sir. So, born in Stagia, Greece, Aristotle was son of Nicomachus, and then a physician to the Macedonian king. His early exposure to medicine and natural sciences likely at age 17. Aristotle joined Pluto. Recall last week, the presentation and debate was on life and time and contribution of Pluto to peace and governance. So Aristotle joined Plato's academy in Athens. Influenced by Plato, Aristotle developed his own distinctive philosophy that emphasized empirical observation and abstract idea. So I think I like the flow of the arrangement of these philosophers. So if we actually have a good understanding of the previous presentation, so this is now nose diving directly to the next person. After Plato, who schooled Aristotle. So today we are talking about the student now to Plato, who happened to be Aristotle. So Aristotle's life and intellectual journey has continued. After Plato's death, he tutored Alexander the Great, a role that shaped both the philosopher's political idea and Alexander's worldview. Later, he founded the Lyceum in Athens. His writing spanned ethics, politics, logic, natural sciences, offering a holistic view of human behavior and governance. So his key contributions to peace and governance, we have to explore them one after the other. And one of the first key is actually termed virtue, ethics, and the golden means. In Nicomachean Ethics, Aristotle emphasized eudaimonia, meaning human flourishing, as the ultimate goal of life, achievable through virtuous living and moderation. Then we have the one and moderation. The golden means. This golden means advocates balance between extremes, highlighting ethical behavior as essential to peace and balance and governance. At this point, I will also be introducing some of his famous quotes as related to this key points that we're going to be looking at. So, on virtue, Aristotle stated, and I quote, "The virtue of justice consists in moderation and regulated by wisdom." So the relevance of this quote is that leaders who embodies moderation and fairness create trust and stability, fostering societal harmony. Don't forget, this is peace and governance we're talking about. So we're already talking about his contribution and the major points where he actually stamped some of these things we are studying today. So some of these things I try to give explanations to them. I mentioned Nicomachean Ethics. It was written by Aristotle, and then it's one of the most significant work in Western philosophy on ethics. It examines the nature of the good life for human being and provides a framework for understanding virtue, happiness, and moral character. Eudaimonia refers to the concept of a fulfilling and complete life. Remember, we explained it as flourishing life before. So at this point, the elaboration says it's a concept of a fulfilling and complete life, as defined by Eudaimonia traditions. It emphasizes human growth, authenticity, meaning, and excellence in living. It is a central concept in Aristotle's philosophy, often translated as happiness, flourishing, or well-being. It represents the ultimate goal of human life, the highest good that people should strive for. That's on the menu. Then virtuous living. Virtuous living involves cultivating and practicing good moral habits and character traits that leads to flourishing and fulfilling life, rooted in philosophical teaching of Aristotle and other virtues and ethicists. It focuses on aligning one's action with reason, purpose, and ethical principles. So the golden means itself. It is a central concept in Aristotle's Nicomachean Ethics, describing desirable middle ground. Remember, we talked about moderation. Desirable middle ground between two extremes of behavior or character traits, one of excess and the other of deficiency. It is a guideline of achieving virtue and living a balanced ethical life. Here, majorly, the golden means, talking about moderation. So Aristotle in his time believed that in peace and governance, that's one of the best things that will make, one of the best quality that makes a leader, or the best things that makes a leader, is those with the quality of moderation, those that can strike a balance, striking a balance between two extremes, someone not too poor and not too rich, someone at the middle class. He, in his time, from my opinion, is saying like someone that can relate to either side. Maybe by the time we are relating it to our today's uh, view of peace and governance, it will be seen like someone that is in the middle class will be able to interpret or relate to the plight of the poor, and also relate to the position of the rich. By so doing, being a person in the middle can be able to decipher a way of striking a middle ground in governance, and thereby that could lead to achieving peace in the society. This is still trying to break down the understanding. Then, politics and governance. In politics, Aristotle analyzed governance system favoring a mixed constitution and aligned the interests of rulers and the ruled to serve the common good. He identified polity governance by middle class as the most stable and virtuous form. So we're still talking about that middle ground. And one of his famous quotes on this one says, "The good of man must be the end of the science of politics." Relevance of this quote is that by balancing wealth and poverty, the middle class fosters stability and equitable governance, reducing societal conflict. I take it again. By balancing wealth and poverty, the middle class fosters stability and equitable governance, thereby reducing societal conflict. So Aristotle is all about, from this side of the study, all about striking a balance, getting a middle ground, avoiding both extremes. Referring back to our society today, in the study of peace and governance, or in the real world, negotiation and everything, most of the time, tend to seek the possibility of getting to a middle ground where we can simply call, or generally call, win-win situation. When the poor feels, oh, there is a chance for me at the middle, and the rich also thinks, oh, we are not going all the way down, we are stopping at the middle. This is Aristotle's own point of view to peace and governance, and in achieving peace and reducing societal conflicts. Rule of law, moving on, rule of law and justice. At this point, Aristotle championed the rule of law as the foundation of governance, ensuring fairness and preventing arbitrariness. Then justice, in his view, ensures societal equity. So when we talk about societal equity, this is still bringing us to that major point again. Moderation, middle ground. And then that is also a very important highlight in the study of Aristotle's contribution to peace and governance. So the quote that follows this one from my study, he said, at his best, man is the noblest of all animals. Separated from law and justice, he is the worst. Relevance. Law and justice system provides stability and reduce conflict, essential for peace building. Okay, having talked about equity, middle ground, center points, Aristotle is trying to bring in a control, a checkmating system, something that makes this possible. And it is law and justice. In the absence of law, it is possible that the have can take all from the have-nots, from the others, and make them the have-nots. And then at best, he now says, a man is the noblest of all animals. Separated from law and justice, he is the worst. So, in essence, this place is trying to tell us, for us to achieve Aristotle's point of view in peace and governance, of having equity, balance, center point, fairness, the rule of law and justice is required in order to achieve this. Hence, it makes man to plays the role of ensuring that the moderation of man is known and enforceable. So here it goes. The relevance again is that law and justice system provides stability and reduces conflicts, essential to peace building. Community and civic engagement. At this point, Aristotle viewed humans as political animals. This is almost like, should we say, like it's something that is no longer, it's not new to us. Like a quote that we've been hearing a very long time. Like Aristotle, oh, man is a political animal. So actually the source is Aristotle. Don't forget, we referred to the noblest of all animals from the other slide. So he said he viewed human as political animals, thriving in organized community through civic responsibility and cooperation. Active participation fosters collective well-being and societal harmony. The quote here from Aristotle says, by nature, man is by nature a political animal. Relevance. Inclusive decision-making and civic participation ensures accountability, unity, and long-term peace. And the way to achieve it for man is through rule of law, through the rule of law and justice, making the animal the noblest of them all. We are not going to be going into biology. We know that they said that human too is an animal. They're all living, we're all animals, just that there are higher animals and the other one. Key details. Moving on. The term political animal originates from Aristotle's work, Politics, where he describes human being as zoom politikon, a political animal by nature. This concept emphasizes the inherently social and communal nature of humans, highlighting their capacity for organization, governance, and ethical interaction. Zoom politikon, that's the political animal in the world, so it refers to the concept from Aristotle's writing where zoon means living creatures and politikon means political. As a whole, zoom politikon translates to political animal. The term suggests that humans have a natural predisposition towards politics or community life, making them unique among other animals due to their ability to create organized society and political system. Then on civic responsibility, this refers to the duty and obligation of citizens to contribute to the well-being, governance, and functioning of their society, of their community, society, or nation. It is rooted in the ideas that active participation in civic life ensures the preservation of democratic values, social order, and the common good. Well, we've talked about equity, and to achieve equity, we talked about rule of law and justice. And then on this point, we're talking about civic responsibility. While Aristotle highlighted the need for middle ground, one, and that it has to be checkmated and put in place by rule of law and justice. He also mentioned that civic responsibility is a way to ensure that all hands are on deck, to ensure preservation and democratic value, social order, and common good. Example in this modern day, away from Aristotle's thought, as much as we want fairness, as much as we want justice, as much as we want balance, here he's talking about civic responsibility, that all hands have to be on deck. Both the people from both extremes, poor and the rich, must have to come to play their part together. For instance, by voting, civic responsibility, majorly, we want fairness. We have to play our own part. If you don't vote and one side wins, that means, in other words, you have actually voted for the wrong side that have won, or the side you are not supporting to win. Going forward, freedom, citizenship, and happiness. Freedom, from Aristotle's view, Aristotle views freedom as a condition achieved through citizenship, defined by participation in collective governance and alignment of individuals. Let me take that again. Defined by participation in collective governance and alignment of individuals with reasons. That's a error there. He views citizenship as essential for cultivating virtue that leads to personal and societal happiness. So, dropping a quote from here, liberty and equity will be best attained when all persons alike share in the government to the utmost. This is still pointing back to civic responsibility. Liberty and equity. Achieving that middle ground has been highlighted from the first point will be best attained when all persons alike share in government to the utmost. That means active participation in governance through civic responsibility. Relevance. Shared governance enhances individuals' freedom, strengthens democratic structure, and fosters peace. When everyone participates, this is going to be the result that we're talking about in Aristotle's own point of view. That if everyone is participating, if government is participatory, then it helps to enhance freedom. It strengthens democratic structure and fosters peace. When the poor is not removed from governance, and when governance is not left for the rich alone, the bourgeois, then that means we still have that fairness, that center point. At this point, we now see the point through his opinion that it will strengthen democratic structure and foster peace and individual freedom, by the way. Going forward, modern relevance. So moving from the old time Aristotle, from the BCE, before contemporary era, to this time, modern relevance. So Aristotle's philosophy offers enduring principles for governance and peace building. And some of the key points, or the key takeaways from his view from all the things from the little we have scratched and studied from Aristotle, include ethical leadership, justice and equity, rule of law, civic engagement, balanced governance. Ethical leadership, his virtue, ethics underscores the importance of leaders prioritizing community welfare to inspire trust and cooperation, justice and equity. In justice and equity, his emphasis on fairness resonates on legal system, promoting impartiality and conflict resolution. Then on rule of law, his view is that laws serve as safeguard for peace, remain fundamental in contemporary democracy, in contemporary democratic system. Without law, there will be no control. Law serves as a moderation towards the same fairness and every other thing we are looking for. Civic engagement going forward means active participation fosters accountability, inclusivity, and societal harmony. This is like highlight to all the points. Then balanced governance. Quality focus on middle class reflects the need for balance, political structure to prevent instability. I take that again. Unbalanced governance. Politics focus on middle class reflects the need to balance political structure to prevent instability. So, still on modern relevance, the next, Aristotle's view on peace and governance. This is trying to now bring it to the relevance of this course and where we are right now. Don't forget the course is still peace and governance. So Aristotle viewed peace and governance as closely linked with both rooted in proper functioning of the polis, meaning city-state. He believed that governance should aim at achieving good life, which is eudaimonia, which I mentioned earlier, for each citizen, which includes peace as a precondition for flourishing, progress, or fulfillment. He emphasized just governance to promote harmony, viewing peace as not just the absence of war, but the presence of order, justice, and cooperation. Justice, civic education, and virtue were critical to fostering societal stability, while war was sometimes necessary. It was only justified to secure peace. This one will lead us to another theory entirely, which is out of the context of this study. But then, this is just bringing it to a tie-up. In conclusion, Aristotle's timeless insights connects ethics, governance, and societal well-being of the science of politics, reminds us that governance should enhance human progress by integrating justice, rationality, and ethical leadership. Aristotle provides a blueprint for achieving peace and effective governance in any era. His work remains a guiding light for creating stable, equitable, and harmonious society. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you very much for your attention. So, thank you for your attention. This stage for discussions, questions.
Okay, so from every indication, I would like to make a point before we move on. The reason is because I'm afraid, I'm not sure if all of us are getting the message here. And what is the message? I don't know if I will take over or you would like, so that you can ask your question, because can you go back from the starting point?
Yes, sir.
Or do I need to say something before I start to ask him question?
Yes, sir. It's way
Okay,
background.
okay, you can start from the beginning.
Yes, sir.
There is a point here because we all rushed into Western education. Sometimes we get confused in getting the main information. Okay, so if you look at the message here, what is the first statement here in this PowerPoint?
After Plato's death.
After Plato's death. And who is Plato? Huh? Who is Plato? Who is
Plato was
Plato?
the
Huh?
was
Who is
the
Plato?
teacher.
Remember that we started with Socrates.
Socrates. Yes.
Socrates is the teacher to Plato. And last week, if you are observant, if you are here in the class, if you were actually paying attention, Chelsea did a marvelous presentation about Plato. If you could recall, Plato's philosophy was centered on what? If you still remember, Plato's philosophy was centered on what? What should be viewed as the background of his philosophy?
Let's say the madness of a man, it's like visible content.
What makes the
That
reality?
The existence of something here is not the actual thing we are seeing. That there is a main perfect world over there.
That's the allegory of the cave.
Yeah.
But what led to his position about philosophy, Plato?
I think he's trying to tell the public that what we see is a college.
Yeah, you got it correctly. But what led to the foundation of his philosophy?
Because of the
Because of what? Perfect. Because you see, we rush. Most of us here are from developing countries. If you look around, we are from Indonesia, Liberia, and the rest. We are all from Nigeria. Because when we rushed into academic Western education, sometimes we tend to think we can manipulate it. We take the things we think we want, and then the ones we think we don't want, we don't investigate why we don't want it. Even though most of the Western philosophers' activities and procedures, I wouldn't say they are new to African philosophy, because I believe that if you ask me, African philosophy is very strong too in relation to what we are also seeing in Western philosophy. What am I saying? Don't disconnect that Plato was madly in love and with respect to his boss, to his teacher. So much so that almost all that he wrote about is about how they killed Socrates, in such a way that even in my own view, in my own interpretation, allegory of the cave is simply that ignorant people who don't know anything were being told, were being schooled by someone that knew. But because they don't know, they kill the person. Sometimes you can connect. It looks like what happened to Jesus Christ as well. But what I'm trying to let us come back here is to get this idea of respect to a constituted authority, which most often we don't embrace. Most often we tend to use a constituted authority, the areas we think we can use the person, and then probably dump the person. It's good to be aware of the connection here in relation to Plato and in relation to Socrates. Otherwise, we might be in this classroom, come to class as most of us do, either because we want a visa or either because we are struggling with one thing or the other, but we may fail to get the actual message. I repeat, Socrates was a teacher to Plato. And Plato was madly in love with the man that he learned something from. Was madly in love with the man. When I mean love, I don't mean sexual love, please. Yeah. Was madly in love with the teachings and the sacrifices this man gave. And then everything he was writing was in answer, just like attacking the killing, the fact that the people could not accept the truth. And that is where the philosophy, his philosophy of life, was almost centered on. Now, after Plato, Plato also had his own students, right? And one of them, the strong one, is what we are talking about today. And that is who? Aristotle. Look at another connection too. Because not just to be in the classroom, after the classroom, we keep talking. Sometimes I see some of us tend to spend time in individuals, spend time in dismantling one person or the other, or one institution or the other, or one government or the other, without providing any solution. And that solution might be our lifestyle. That solution might be ourselves. That solution, but even the fact that you're in this country, are you really conquering this country by yourself, despite the fact that despite the challenges? It's something you have to ask yourself. Yes, it's very difficult. It's a place that you can't imagine certain things. But the point is that the challenge shouldn't be the reason why you are not progressing. Maybe because you're focusing on the challenge. We are focusing on the negative. And that is why we tend to be where we are. Or maybe because sometimes we have steps on toes that actually assisted us. Whether it's from home, whether it's from here, or whether it's from even friends that helped you. And the friend, after helping you, it doesn't seem to understand the way you embrace the help. You start suffering in something that someone can just help you do under 1 minute. I just want us to connect it. Because if we connect it, then we then connect the fact that we started this class by saying that peace is about justice, is about rule of law. Peace is about respect. Respect to me, and respect to you, and respect to anybody around you. Peace is about also understanding the fact that even as I'm here talking, it doesn't mean I'm a saint. And you're listening to me, it doesn't mean you're a saint too. It's not, at the same time, peace is not about talking about the negative areas. Peace is all about you should protect me, I should also protect you. You should also understand my weakness, I should also understand your weakness. It's not just to sit around gallivanting, junketing, malingering, and gossiping about, thinking that society will work with that. Peace is just standing on the challenge. So, if you now connect Socrates, connect Plato, connect Aristotle, begin to see why they are successful, and we are still talking about them today. Okay, now let me not get into deep other things. Can we go to the next slide? I just want us not to listen, not just to come here and listen to this and just go home for nothing, living normal life as if nothing is happening. Let us be connecting what we are learning practically, just opposing what we learn in school. Otherwise, what's the difference? Why are you here? You wouldn't have been here. You would have been in the street like other people. Otherwise, why is it that even I always try to use a practical experience? Don't tell me Thailand is so difficult. It's not. Don't tell me there's no job in this country. You are lying a lot. It depends on you and how you deposited yourself and the kind of person you are. Because some of us sometimes they say they don't have job. Are you employable? It's not just that there's no job. Are you employable? What can you offer? How do you dress? How do you look? So we have to be connecting all these things because we lead to exactly what the way he concluded this class. Okay, now look at the other one. Say virtue, ethics, and the golden mean. What does that mean? He said, Aristotle emphasized eudaimonia, human flourishing, as the ultimate goal of life. Flourishing. Can you tell me what is flourishing? Maybe during the question and answer, you can say that. He said, human flourishing are the ultimate goal of life, achieving through virtuous living and moderation. If this is an Igbo language, I would have spoken better. Because sometimes English is also preventing us from expressing certain things. Of course, especially someone like myself, that I must say that my English is already affected because of the kind of situation we are in. So, but the point is that let us get it clear. Aristotle emphasized human flourishing. What is human flourishing? When we sit down, gossiping and talking, is that human flourishing? Hello? Is human flourishing talking about almost everything that is not good in Thailand? And that's the only thing you see in this flourishing country. While others are progressing, you're interested in talking rubbish. I don't know. I do hope you don't see that as human flourishing. So understand it, get it from today's class. And one of the things you're supposed to go home with. Now, golden mean advocate balance between extremes, highlighting ethical behavior as essential to peace and governance. What he's trying to say here is that, of course, we should also be ethical. We'll also be ethical. And what is part of the ethical? As we are students, you are in my class, don't use your phone. You are in my class, don't deceive yourself in using any other things. Is either you choose to be in the class or you go home and do what exactly you want to do. I want to limit it to classroom. Because it's self-deception when you see some people, he's in the class, he's chatting with his friend, or he's doing something else, and if you turn around like this, the person will just begin to behave as if he's being forced to be in the classroom. So that is what is also saying that is this peace we are talking about, virtuous living with moderation. Don't disconnect it. And the lecturer gives assignment and you follow the assignment without talking or start to define the lecturer or start to actually evaluate the lecturer. Probably you have to wait until it is your turn. But he has given you the assignment and you fail to do the assignment. The assignment you can easily do is to begin to talk against the lecturer or begin to discuss, talk about his own method of teaching. Remember what he said. I'm just trying to let us not go home with the way we just think is a normal class. So, it's a golden mean. Advocate balance between extremes, highlighting ethical behavior as essential to peace and governance. That is why he said, according to the quotation he gave us, the virtue of justice consists in moderation as regulated by wisdom. I don't know whether this is preaching or not, but remember that most of the churches stand today is from these people. In case you don't know. Can we get to the other slide?
Yes, sir.
Okay, say.
Okay, I go back.
Leaders who embody moderation and fairness create trust and stability, fostering social harmony. And the question is that, who are these leaders if not you and I? Forget about the ones leading us today, whether they are doing their best or whether they are doing or they are not doing it or not. If you ask a Liberian now, we begin to analyze all the bad things about Liberian leaders. If you enter Nigeria, then you are in trouble because you will be dismantled because leaders must be blamed all the time. But the point here is that Aristotle is also trying to let us know that we, you and I, are the leader, whether you like it or not. As I'm standing here, am I not the leader? Most of you depend on me in certain things. Is it not? At least if not, when your visa expires or some other thing, or even some school fees payment that some of you have not paid. We have to understand in this class, frankly speaking, that it's not all about theory. It's also practical, and you have to connect it. Okay, now, so going further, that's why I say key contributions to peace and governance. Let's see the other slide. Because the way the slide, he gave us the slide, I just don't want us to leave it without paying attention to what we go home with. So now, these are just explanations. Let me take vicious living. Involves cultivating and practicing good moral habits and character traits that lead to a flourishing and fulfilling life. Rooted in the philosophical teachings of Aristotle and other virtue ethicists, it focuses on aligning one's actions with reasons, purpose, and ethical principles. But after this class, you go to play football. If you don't go play football, you have a job somewhere. If you don't have a job somewhere, you have a condo where you live or apartment. You enter box and so many places. The issue is that we are being challenged by Aristotle. It's not just every time to condemn the Western ideologies like some of us do, including myself. But sometimes these people also left us with a lot of things that we are neglecting. Of course, we are here for Western education, because I'm not trying to compare with African philosophers or Eastern philosophers. I'm not focusing on Western philosophers now. And I just want you to be aware that not just that they gave us democracy, but that they went deeper and found means and found things and stated how that could be done. That is why, probably in my own view, I may be wrong. If you give somebody American visa, he thinks he's in heaven. You give somebody European visa, he thinks the person will think he's in heaven, especially some of us from the developing countries. Why? Because of these people. Because of what they said. And because of what they designed their country. And it was followed. And that is why even today, even whether you like it or not, some of them might commit a lot of atrocities here in this country. But even the people that will catch them will try to be very careful, because they know the country they are talking about. But then when they catch you and I, of course, you know what that means. You must have been dealt with ever before anything that even before, in fact, even your passport is even considered as an offense itself. So why? Because of this ideology, ideas. People sat down, reflected, and submitted something to their country, to their people, to their citizens. Instead of, especially in these modern days that social media is now deceiving us a lot. And we get carried away with that. And yet, ask the person in question, it must be tunable. The other time, it started with about Obasanjo. Of course, most of us here are Nigerians. From Obasanjo, I think it was Yaradua before he died, and then good luck, I call it bad luck. And then from there, Buhari is Buhari. And then from there, now we have to at every stage in life, majority of us don't tend to look for solution, but keep destroying, keep damaging, keep putting all our efforts in the negative basket. That is not what these people presented to us. And that's what I want you not to go home with, because most of us here from developing countries, it's not just to hear, why are we here to get a master's degree? Okay, you want to get a master's degree for what? Of course, I understand some of us just for visa and then do business or whatever. But you're also doing something good to yourself by even doing it in the right way. But the point, how many of us have studied Socrates after Emmanuel Obis presented it? I don't know. To study it and know what it is there, and the knowledge and the information there that will help you in your life. How many? How many of us studied Plato after Chelsea presented it? By going deeper to understand something about it. How many of us Even after today, Aristotle, we go deeper instead of spending time in social media or whatever, to get something that probably will add value to your life. I bet you the secret of my success, if ever there was anyone in this country, is because of this way. Because at the time, frankly speaking, I'm not a saint, of course, I have my own fault. But at the time, I never had chance to even sit with anybody to be talking trash instead of seeking for information, seeking for knowledge, seeking for how to develop myself. Hello? There was a time in this country, even to today. Why should I have time, such time, when I need to help myself? And at that time, it shouldn't be Obasanjo who was the president to help me. I should be the one to help myself. And today, you guys are here listening to me, calling me prof, right?
Yes, sir.
In Igbo land, they say prof, prof. You can be that more than myself. Of course, most of you here are more intelligent than myself. And look at how you're sitting, listening to me as if I have everything. Come on. That is the challenge. That is the challenge. And that is what he's telling us here. Now, politics and governance. He said, a good man must be the end of the science of politics. Aristotle analyzed governance system favoring a mixed constitution that aligns the interests of rulers and the ruled to serve the common good. I, as a person, have my selfish interests. You know that. I'm a human. So when you come to my office, I should have a way to balance what, even as you are trying to make use of my authority or whatever. Somehow it's possible that I had a way of aligning certain things to also make use of certain things by myself too. I didn't offend you. You shouldn't offend me too. So it's not always because just like I am listening to the wisdoms of Donald Trump. So when you are too good to people, they take you for granted. And sometimes people gather around you because they needed you for something. Once they get that thing they needed you for, they don't even care about you again. And that is true human nature. So what are we trying to say here? That governance is not just for you to come and make use of me. I should also be smart enough to balance it. If maybe I give and take. Maybe there's something you need in me, then I will give it to you. And there's something you need in me that I will give, and then I will take it. Hello, are you there? Do you connect that with the nation's interest in the modern day's politics? Maybe Thailand and Nigeria, they have something. You think Thailand will just sit down and then giving Nigeria something, or Indonesia and Nigeria, right? Then the Indonesia would be giving things to Nigerians without anything to receive. Do you think it happens? It's not. It's give and take. Nation's interest. Nation's interest. And that is why when we sit here to study as a master's degree student, please ask yourself the question. Your character, attitude, and behavior must be different from those in the street. Don't know all this. So that's what he's trying to say here. Interest of the rulers and the ruled to serve the common good. The center is the common good. Let's take, for example, you needed something from me as a lecturer, as a teacher. Okay, let's just say you don't have your school fees. And you need my signature to go through about that. The question is that it's also my interest to make sure that you're a good student, that you are really serious. Before I should do certain things, it should be true for the common good of a society. It's not the one that doesn't take his studies very seriously, and then you're supporting him also, even when he cannot meet up with certain things. So it's not just to sit and condemn the leaders. Of course, constructively, we can always dismantle our leaders constructively, meaning that there's no leader that you will say didn't do anything good. Just like most of us coming from Nigeria, say when you open mouth, everything is destruction. But come on, there was even a time you cannot even do bank transfer while in Thailand. But today, I can easily send money home instantly. I can use my phone, I can use my money, my token from the bank, and do so many good things, so much. We have done, the leaders have done a lot, actually. But the point is that we need to cooperate with the leaders as well. So what we are trying to say here, what the Westerners are trying to say here, because remember that what they gave us is democracy. And it's coming from the people sat and actually read and reflected and brought out this thing they call democracy. So that is about the rulers and the ruled must have a common ground. That is a common good. Aristotle identified polity, governance, by the middle class as the most stable and vicious form. The good man must be the end of the science of politics. Relevance. By balancing wealth and poverty. Wealth and poverty. The middle class fosters stability and equitable governance, reducing societal conflict. You say balancing wealth and poverty. Maybe during the time you ask question, you can also ask him that kind of question. Balancing. Remember, we're not talking about scamming. Remember, we're not talking about Yahoo. Remember, we're not talking about Yahoo Plus or some other means that we have been using in order to make ways. That's not the balance we are talking about here. Okay, let's move on in another point I want us to be aware of. The rule of law and justice. Aristotle champions the rule of law as the foundation of governance. What is the rule of law? You think about, you should reflect, you should research about it, because that's why you're sitting here. Some people are there wasting time across and road. You choose to come here. Sometimes it pains me how come some of us come here to deceive themselves without learning anything. Even when the way we behave, the way we act, we can't see the difference. That is the other day I said, even in this particular country we have a particular country that have so many associations, more than association you can imagine. We have a village association, we have this state association, we have this particular association, and yet this particular country, they are still among Africans the notorious and the most disturbing ones in this country. That is the fact. Then you ask yourself, what did we discuss when we gather? Or do we just gather to fight ourselves, or do we gather to show how wealthy we are? Otherwise, something must be there. There must be a reason why. What is the investigative aspect of it that this particular country that is in this Thailand will have, if they don't have association, let's be about 20 or 30 of them in different forms. And yet, when atrocities are being recorded, they are more in number. You ask yourself, what do they discuss when we gather? That is the issue. So Aristotle championed the rule of law as the foundation of governance. Rule of law is not only in the governance, is in only waiting for your country. Here, you and I are here. Rule of law. Ensuring fairness and preventing arbitrariness, justice, a bit ahead. Justice, in his view, ensures social equity. You take your own, I take my own. Respect me, I respect you. At his best, man is the noblest of animals, separated from law and justice. He is the worst. Separated from law and justice, he is the worst. And what is the law? And what is the justice? So if you are in this particular country, always remember the law. Always remember justice. Law is all about keeping to what the people of a country you entered would like you to keep. If you don't like, go back to where you're coming from. Do not come to change it for them. And when we gather in the classroom, that is what we should be emphasizing. And that is the essence of it. At his best, man is noblest of animals. We are very noble. However, if you remove law and justice, we are worst. I hope you are getting the point. Hello, are you guys there?
Yes, sir.
Because I don't want you to go home today. Because Aristotle's philosophy is very powerful. I'm not saying it's the best, but it's powerful. That is why I have to emphasize on it. Laws and justice system provide stability and reduce conflict, essential for peace building. So when you go home today, when we finish today's class, ask yourself, what is the concept of law? Is the concept of law when it benefits you? It's the concept of law only when your selfish interest is satisfied. You see that? Because if all of us in this class were not much, if we can start building our philosophy of life on law and justice, including myself, by the way, I'm not sounding as if I'm an exception. We all, I think the Christians, they say we've all sinned and run short of the glory of God. But the fact that when you sin, remember that you sin and do not push it to someone else. Hello? Are you there?
Yes, sir.
Law and justice. Because when you understand it, wherever you find yourself in any society, in any union, then you'll be able to stand on that. And do you think if you stand on that, you'll still have friends? Hello? If you're in an association and any union, and you're telling them about law and justice, you think you'll be applauded. Then go back to Socrates. Why he was killed. He was accused of corrupting the youth because he was telling them about law and justice to know what they should know. Okay, next. So Aristotle went further.
Right. Law and justice.
Just go on. Aristotle went further in the community and civic engagement. Do you know this particular one? This particular one is even the one that is very challenging. Some of us will say, no, I don't need to vote again because the one I voted there is not, it doesn't count. Come on. And you hear this from students, you hear this from a presumed student of peace and governance. Who told you that even even in the so-called Nigerian election, who told you that you have not made an impact? Who told you that that impact has not been there? But the one I voted doesn't count. Come on, give me a break. Aristotle views humans as political animals because at the point you now leave this your position as a political animal, I wonder what we are. Striving in organized communities through civic responsibility. Look at how it's highlighted there. Civic responsibility. Civic. Who knows what is civic? Can somebody tell me what is civic? Can someone just help me? What is civic? Civic responsibility. Do you have an idea what that means? Civic responsibility. Collins, are you asleep?
Civic responsibility, in my opinion, is your roles as a citizen of a country.
As a citizen of a country, you have a role
to play. Yeah.
As a citizen of a country, you have a role to play. Have you played that role before you expect Tinubu to do all that he's supposed to do? It's a challenge. So man is by nature a political animal. Inclusive decision-making and civic participation ensure accountability, unity, and long-term peace. Of course, politically, you cannot tell me that here you don't think politically. Come on, we are all political animals. And then the next thing, what is politics? That's the next question. And what is animal in question? Do you mean dog? You hear that all the time. Civic responsibility. Play your part. As a Nigerian, I bet you, I'm very proud anywhere I found myself as a Nigerian in Thailand. Very, very proud of it. Hello? Are you proud of being an Indonesian in Thailand? Liberian, are you proud of being a Liberian in Thailand? You're very proud? Okay. I bet you there is, if I have my way, I will paint my car with Nigerian color. Period. Yes. Here's my country. And I came in here, I saw, and I conquered in my little way. Period. And that is probably why you are standing. I'm so proud of it. Remember, I always reckon this. That's why I'm standing here, all of you are prop. What do you think I care about? That's your prop. All of you can be that more than you can imagine, as young as most of you are. If I were, how do I put it in English? If I came in this country in this age you are, I think probably I would have been in parliament by now. Come on. So civic responsibility. We have a responsibility as a member of every citizen. I mean every country. So now that is what Aristotle is trying to emphasize on. Okay, next. That's why I say community. Civic responsibility refers to duties and obligations of citizens to contribute to the well-being, governance, functioning of their community, society, or nation. It is rooted in the idea that active participation in civic life ensures the preservation of democratic values. You must have a voter's card, and you must vote, and you must participate actively. It helps in social order and the common good. It's not all the time to leave politics for some people, and when something are going bad, then you start to now remember that your country is not doing very well. So these are things I just want us to connect Socrates with Plato and with Aristotle and with the respect they have, each of them. I prefer to use the word constituted authority. Someone is in charge. It's not all about gossiping, gallivanting, junketing, malingering, and consistently talking bullshit. Yet, you cannot even be better than the person. Yet, you can't even achieve what the person achieved. The little one left for you, you are talking, you are just talking. The next thing, bad government, yeah, bad government. I'm not saying that we should clap for bad governance or bad government, but I still believe that you and I, if we change our attitude, if we change our concept about politics, and probably we may get to understand what Aristotle means, and that is why Western people, their country is the way it is, and most of us would like to rush and go there. So, I just want us to get this before we go home. I'm not saying we're going home now because I've not even done my own teaching, but then just for us to connect this Aristotle, I've not even started. This is just a presentation by Mr. Diskin, and because of the points here, why democracy is the way it is, why the Western world is the way it is, presumably better than us, because of this reflective submissions by their elderly ones. How many of us, even if we talk about most of us that are Africans here, how many of us still believe in our African leaders? Because we were told they are all barbaric, right? We are told that they are archaic, right? We are told that they are we are going to go to hellfire. Our forefathers are all in hellfire. You are calling me Dr. Emmanuel. Who is Emmanuel? What do I know about Emmanuel? I'm not Okafo. Okafo is not a saint, but Emmanuel is a saint. You see that? We've been brainwashed, and we're not even thinking, and we're not even reflecting over it. Even the same Western philosophy or Western education we are good, even to look at it also, we are not, because look at it here. From Socrates to who? Plato. From Plato to who? Aristotle. But my father's name might be Mbeke, Mbafo, Okeke, Okafo, Okonkwo. They are all presumably in hellfire, right? But St. Gabriel and St. Xavier innocent. Xavier innocent. Dixon, Smith Benedict, Michael, Angel Michael, correct, Collins, then Emmanuel. This one is Callistus. You see that? Anyway, let me leave it at this. So in case you have any question for the presenter today, so that he will not go free without being touched. Okay, so let's go to the... do you have any question for him? Any question for today's presentation?
And the preaching touched all of us so much.
The man of God brought down the anointing.
No, you cannot escape Emmanuel Obi.
Let's have it.
You cannot escape Emmanuel
It's
Obi.
time
If you
for
escape,
fireworks. Collins, I saw your hand.
thank God he was late.
Collins raised his hand.
Why no? Why not Emmanuel Obi first?
Okay, Emmanuel Obi,
Okay, let's start with Collins first of all. Okay, let's start with Collins.
First of all, nice presentation
By who?
by Dr. Dixon.
Okay, so I want to be sure whether you are praising my presentation or okay, go ahead.
So when you were talking about rule of law, you made mention of that law brings justice to the society and reduces conflict. So relating it to the developing and underdeveloped country, I believe they also have rule of law. And most of the times, conflicts happen there. Do you think, I'm asking you now as the Aristotle, do you think there is more or there are more to do considering the present governance in the modern society today? Do you think there is more to do so that there will be a stable environment?
Please remember the mic so that
Thank you.
own mic, so that people will hear you when you answer. I hope because you are speaking gently. So I hope.
Okay, I'll try and project my voice this time. By the way, very good question. And then, like we know, studying for studying's sake will only end up being literature or what the people that have studied are now at the level of professor, the higher echelon will say just academics. Yeah, but what you brought up now is more or less what we can say is applied question. That's bringing it to relevance. Yes, we'll talk about Socrates, we'll talk about Plato, and then we'll talk about Aristotle. Then there will be the rest after following. The application, just like we study English and use of English. So now, rule of law. However, this study is not actually a study of rule of law, just saying Aristotle's view. Then, be that as it may, what your question is, if I get you correctly, the modern society.
Yes.
Do you have any country in mind particularly? Or
That is why I said the developing and
developing countries,
underdeveloped.
all of them. So the application of rule of law. Okay. Actually, that's my mind I'm speaking now. So rule of law is the study itself, is the concept in its own. It is more or less the existing proposition, if I may use that word. Then where the case is here is going to be the application of that rule of law. Don't forget, Aristotle said the man is the noblest of them all, but separated from the rule of law, then it is the opposite. So I think the problem that it's obvious to you and I today will be the application of that rule of law. So if the rule of law is actually applied positively, the way it should be, in the real sense, in reality, there will be no problem in leadership or in followership. And the developing society, the developing countries, will actually progress to the flourishing level of eudaimonia and then reduce conflict in the society. Thank you. I hope I get it.
Yeah. Okay.
So my answer is on the application of it.
Okay, any other question? Okay.
Okay, thank you so much for the presentation. So my question will be bordered on conflict, because today, like we all know, like we're all aware, that the world is riddled with conflicts from the north to the south, to the east and the west.
Can you project a little bit?
Okay. I said my question will be bordered on conflict. Just like we all know, the world is riddled with conflict. Currently, there is crisis. There is a war ongoing between Israel and Palestine. There is conflict in Ukraine, between Ukraine and Russia. In Africa, the Congo is the major flashpoint of conflict, and everywhere else. Yeah, so everywhere else, Myanmar and the rest of the world. So how can Aristotle's philosophy of equity and justice be applied in today's world to resolve the conflicts that are ongoing? So that is my question.
Okay. Okay. Like I forgot to make a point here. It actually might be personal, and that point will be to appreciate our professor. I don't want to say my professor too. I don't want to privatize him. The way he pinpointed some of the presentation on the board even made it that me that actually prepared it, I was actually touched. And then I think as I am actually saying this, I'm also speaking to myself and also learning. Like we all know, learning is a continuum, and promise to actually do more in my own civic responsibility. And then back to your own, Mr. Michael. We're talking about conflict in the globe now, left, right, center. So you're talking about how we can borrow some insight from Aristotle's view to ameliorate, or better still, manage the conflicts around the world right now. So I'm going to quickly go to, while Aristotle talked about Nicomachean, that is emphasizing eudaimonia and human flourishing as progress, success, fulfilling life. He talked about getting to achievable through virtuous means. He talked about golden means. So his two Nicomachean ethics through golden means, and Nicomachean ethics through virtuous living, and the golden means is where I want to use here. That Nicomachean ethics talked about achieving success through virtuous living. And then golden means advocates balance between extremes, highlighting ethical behaviors as essential to peace and governance. In the world today, people want to flourish. But what is the means of our flourishing? People want to not just get to the top, to be at the top and remain at the top. The question here would have been, what's the means? Is this the virtuous means or otherwise? So, if we consider virtuous means and moderation, if we consider virtuous means, then the way people go about what they want to achieve in this life would have been through the means that will not hurt the other. And then applying the golden means would have been applying moderation in whatever we do, not wanting to be too greedy on the extreme, where the rich want to be the richest. The leader want to remain the leader forever. And then taking us back to Collison's questions about developing countries, where someone that has gotten to the position of leadership want to remain in power for decades. So if this comes, where they see it like a do or die, when you see the case of do or die approach towards flourishing, then conflict comes in. If the world could come to the place of moderation, not trying to preach, even the scripture for the Christians here, to say, let your moderation be known to all men, then there won't be conflict. The rich will know that there's supposed to be a middle ground. The poor will supposed to know there's supposed to be a middle ground. the led will know there's a middle ground and the leader will know there's a middle ground. No one goes against each other. Then, at that point, we'll get to a point where at the middle ground, some people have to let go some things, both those at the far right and those at the far left. Then with a balanced society, there will be a good management and good understanding, thereby achieving peace in the society. I don't know if I've actually touched it or you have further questions.
Yo, my question is actually emphasizing on Aristotle's philosophy of common good.
Okay.
There's common good of the society. So how does that how would that help in helping to solve like the global conflicts that we have today? Like I want us to be practical. Like practical, how would that help? This idea of common good.
Yeah.
You get. So how would that help in solving today's problem?
The question is very, very tactful. So you can continue, but let me make my own little contribution.
Yes, sir.
Aristotle is talking about common good. But there is a confusion in the world, conflict in the world, because leaders weren't following that principle. Yes. Remember, whenever in this class, I try to say you and I. So if I'm a leader now, I'm holding a country, and I start to use selfish interest in this in such a way, twisted things, governance or government in such a way that it will create conflict with another country. It's actually initiated by me using the office. So my own understanding, maybe you might have a different understanding. My understanding is that the conflicts are there because the leaders are drifting. They are not focusing on that common goal. Even when they try to do selfishly, either because you did something to me personally, then I'm now a leader in a position, I'm using it to fight you. For example, some people accused America bombing Iraq as at the time, because when the father, the other senior Bush, was in charge, Hussein promised to kill their dad or whatever. So probably, sorry to say, the stubborn first daughter became the president and made sure that he kills the man that's dear to his father. You see the connection. Where is the common good there? Yeah.
Anyway.
Now, there are so many examples we can see. So even myself, maybe in my office, I may be acting selfishly in certain areas. Is not in common good. Even some of you here, you are maybe acting selfishly in certain areas, not in common good. So this preaching by Aristotle, if we are following it, I guess that is why some democrats don't fight each other, because they don't want war. That is what I will talk about next. They don't want war. And that is because of common good, common goal. What is the common good? Summum bonus. Because they don't want people to die. Maybe there's something you disagree. I disagree. But if I remember that if we crash, I will kill this person, kill the babies, kill pregnant women. So that common, if we think in line with that, then we just forget that we have to negotiate, cooperate. You also use cooperation. There are so many examples to it, but I think you can come up.
Okay, thank you very.
If I didn't get some of them.
Thank you very much, Professor. And you have actually done justice to it, but I will also add my own side to it. If in a society, a leader came and we know we are in need for development, starting from basic infrastructure. And then a prospective leader came for campaign and say, I am promising accountability and to show working. Then this person is promising to work and accountability that towards the development of our country. Then the led gathers and say, oh, this man is thinking what we are thinking. Permit me to use that word. Let us vote for him so that he will help us develop our society, our community, our country, our common goal, development. So the goal there is we vote the campaigner or the prospective leader in, making him the manager of our resources. He wins the election and becomes the manager, the leader. Then we, the led, in playing our own part of civic responsibility, pay our taxes out of our hard-earned money, with the hope that that manager we have voted, the leader, will now apply the resources meticulously to achieve development, common goal in the society, building of roads, basic infrastructure, power supply, hospitals, and so on and so forth, you name it. And then the person goes there, and we have all the hope and say the Messiah is here. We now make our money. Out of the money we make, we pay to the, what do they call it? The power that be, or to the government, hoping that the amassing of those taxes from you and I and every other citizen as part of our civic responsibility to be pulled together to develop the society from the grassroots up to the top, moving us from developing to developed country. And then the leader gets in. And then one thing led to the other. For whatever reason best known to whoever the leader will be, fail to bring in those developments. Maybe end up going for luxurious life for himself and his fellow leaders. You see, that commonality has been lost. Hence, conflict will become inevitable. The led, the taxpayers, will now become disgruntled, starting from murmuring to talking to one another to expression of dissatisfaction in governance. Don't forget this course is peace and governance. Now conflict has started. And then distrust. The person that promised us to go up, to climb the tree, and then shake the fruit so that the ripe one will fall, has gone up and we didn't know he went up with his own bag and then he's harvesting the ripe fruit for himself alone. And no one is dropping. And even when he drops to his own people. Now, that common good is no longer being achieved. Hence, we might still have bad roads, no good school, no standard schools, no standard hospital, no light. Even when we have, it will now be the band A to band whatever. You see, the common good is being lost. So at this point, I hope I've given a practical example from civic responsibility to common goal expectation to our manager and then the taxpayers. Thank you very much. Any further questions from Michael?
In addition to that, in terms of classroom, because I'm into business of classroom, I don't have another business. Emmanuel Obi, you just came to Thailand to study in Siam University, right? Correct. And I guess I have something to do with that. You're coming here. Am I not? Probably because I am here. That's why. It would have gone to another place. But anyway, you got connected to coming here. Am I correct? Then, Mr. Callistus, I guess you're here because of myself. Am I correct? Okay. Then, Emmanuel Somto, do you still remember how you got into Siam University? I was even moving from one place to another to yank you to come and study here. Okay. Emmanuel, there are so many Emmanuel here. Emmanuel Ngozi, because I want to get married in Abia State.
Yeah.
The mom followed me.
Nice.
And that's how he's here. And then Michael, do I have any connection with you coming here? Collins, that was because of your friend, if I'm not mistaken, right? Chinedu, do I need to? He was even a road safety man. So the point of common good there is that my own thinking is that Africans having opportunity for the common good of Africa, call it Pan-Africanist, Pan-African mentality. That this is an office, this is an opportunity. I know how you started, Liberian man, right? with a visa that I don't even know where it's coming from. We kept on fighting over it until we got through it. It's not. It doesn't mean that I wouldn't do that. I'm not other people, but in my own mind, I had the concept of common good for African nation. Needless to talk about Igbos or needless to talk about Biafra. Let me not go there. You see, but that does not mean. Don't forget, this does not mean that I am not weak as a person. Are you there? It doesn't mean I don't have my weakness as a human being. But in this particular kind of selection, kind of motivation, a kind of gathering, something is in the mind, the common good, in the sense that if we can use this opportunity to train ourselves and become better and think better as Africans and better our place for the common good of everybody. But it doesn't mean that if you get into my private life that I'm a saint. No. Neither does it mean that you yourself, that if I get into your private life, that you're a saint either. That is not common good. That is private life. Hello? Because the fact that somebody is moving towards common good does not mean that he's a Jesus Christ. Are you there? I don't know if I am adding anything to your question.
Yeah.
The word common good. Common good must be selfless.
No barrier.
Yeah, no interest that is attached to it. Because after all, there are so many people that I did that. They even build mansions I have never built. In fact, there are many that even have estates as of 2010 or 11, and most of them. And yet, but I'm so happy that today they finished first degree. I even try to encourage them to do master's degree. I nearly pushed them to do PhD. They ran away. So, the point is, ask yourself, what am I gaining? Nothing. That is, at least in this particular scenario. It doesn't mean I don't have my own selfish interest or you don't have yours. But the point is that the sense of common good here is that African empowerment. Hello? I don't know whether you guys are there.
Yes, sir.
Now let's get to Professor Emmanuel Obi because he has something. Huh?
Yeah, I'm not clear.
You want something else? Or you want us to stop Emmanuel Obi?
Tell us what you want.
Okay, now.
No, I want to
Okay.
my question is, Aristotle talked about the common good. And my question is, how do we apply what he said of common good? Because I think the world is in problem. The world is in conflict. There's conflict in the world today. So how do we apply Aristotle's idea of common good or his philosophy of common good
Individual application, as I said.
to solving the world's problem today?
Rule of law, civic responsibility, join it.
And then even if you mention those things, what if I'm a leader but I don't implement it?
Application, implementation.
Think about it because Aristotle could be very, just think about it. Let's get to Professor Obi. Think about it because it's very simple. It's not a complicated thing about common good. It's very simple. It's not complicated. How to apply it? But there's no one we can apply it together. Yes. Leaders are the one appointed to apply it. I think Tinubu was in France there the other day, right? They are talking about how to unify. The president was the other day. So someone is appointed, constituted authority.
Because what is in the common good?
Common good.
Not have universal ethics.
It's relative. Common good is relative, depending on the society, the country. Our common good from where you're coming from might be development, basic infrastructure.
Yeah, common good. Common good.
In the class, it might be to pass and go. Lecturer to achieve his payments and the rest.
Concept. Common good. Common good is common good. It's not complicated.
Yeah.
Think about common
defining good and bad.
And common good is selfless. Yeah, common good is selfless. It's not selfish interest.
Win-win.
Yeah, it is not something you will do for your own selfish interest. It's something you do for other people. That is why he said that the end of the science of politics is a good man. The good of a man must be the end of science of politics. And the politics, it means that common good to everybody. Common good to everybody. It's very simple. It's not complicated. So don't take it as good as a Christian common good. Even if that can also be implemented in the politics as well. So, but just think about it. There's no confusion there. You'll get it. Okay, let's listen to our professor here.
Okay.
Angle that you come.
Actually, I want to contribute to the question you just asked before I proceed with the one I want to ask. So I don't think I will take much. I will take much of your time, but I just want to contribute. When we talk about common goods, you know, in human nature, we cannot
Can
achieve
you
it.
project a little?
I said when we talk about this common good, human nature, we cannot achieve it universally. Reason, what we are facing in the world today, yeah, what we are facing.
I want to be clear on something. A human being, human being, we can never achieve common good.
Yeah.
That means
Negative
that you need to
perception.
understand the concept of common good.
Now I want to give my reasons.
Let him tell us what's common good.
Yes, because you know why I jump into the conclusion. There is a reason.
Let me give you a practical example. In Thailand, if you want to enter bus, if you want to go to a place, you can either go with taxi if you have the money, right? You go BTS if you have the money. Then in Thailand also, there is also another bus that is a 5 baht or 6 baht.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and sometimes Thai government will provide the red box free. So common good, you have to see it in this way, that is in such a way that is open for you. You can now choose whichever one you like in terms of transportation. Imagine those who don't have the money. Then you wait for that red bus that is free. Then imagine if you don't have the one for air C from, let's say, Prodigy to see I'm 15 baht. Then I have to wait for 8 baht. So common good is relational. It also involves the entire system that connects every classes of people, and that is the context.
Yeah, actually, I
So
got.
in terms of good.
No. What I mean in this in this context is common good is all about maintaining this equity, equality, fairness. What is this equity we talk? Now, when we talk about equality, I want to make an analogy, which is what we are battering today. You know, now the world entirely, we are battling with equality. We are battling with equity. These are different concepts with different meaning. And we are battling with this fairness. What do I mean by equality? Now, let me.
The definition of equality now.
Yes, I want to make an analogy for the clarity of everyone, not to get confused. When we talk about equality, this is a bag, and this is a bag. They are equal. Things in the bag are the same. You are in need of the bag, and with the content of it, I give it to you. You are in need of the bag, I give it to you. When we talk about equity, he is sitting down there, but if I stand there, I cannot see what is inside there. And when Emmanuel stands there, he can see a little of it. When Shinedu stands there, he can see just a minor, but Emmanuel can see it clearly more than Chinedu, and I cannot see it at all. Now, if you want to applicate equality here, I have to stand on something in order to see the view there. Now, you give me something that I will stand and see it. You understand? And you give Chinedu the same thing that you give to me. You give Emmanuel the same thing that you give to me, which is what? Equality. You understand? Why, if I stand there with the same thing, they will be seeing the view more than me at some point. If I stand on this bag now and I see just a little of it, but Emmanuel stands on it, he will see more clearer than I see. That is equality. When we talk about this equity, in the context of the common good. If you give me to maintain,
Aristotle say this, you are saying, or you?
no, I'm trying to applicate. I'm not diverting. No, I'm not diverting. I'm trying to lay an analogy that will lead to the final conclusion of what he asked about the common good.
But that might not be the answer.
It is the answer. You should have waited for me so that I will arrive at my conclusion.
Because analysis you are giving is very correct in your own individualistic understanding of that particular analogy you are giving. But the point is that the common good in the context this person is saying it appears to be different from the area you are coming from.
And you remember the common good still stand for justice. Yes.
You are giving your interpretation.
No, that is the view.
Your interpretation is correct.
The common good for the governance is the provision of the necessities of one human being needs to live in life. And this is
be very careful. This is about Aristotle.
that is what I'm saying. The common good, because he is trying to know he is trying to know how we can maintain, how we can achieve common good in this context.
And all of you to understand. If you want to define a terminology, make sure you are defining it in context. We are talking about Aristotle and common good, what he meant by that.
Yes.
It does not mean that what you said here is wrong, but that is your own approach to that particular terminology. Because you have to read this man very well. That is one thing I tell you that I'm a philosopher. Read it, look at, and I think the presenter pointed out everything in a very short manner. What Aristotle means by that.
You could have allowed me to finalize, because these things these things is what geared is what makes the society not achieve that common good in some different in some most developing countries now, because the common good, what makes us not achieve it is about conflict of interest. Do you understand now? The interest of the leaders who is leading there, and because of their stomach infrastructure, is what is keeping us underdeveloped till today.
Remember that and to say that we cannot achieve it. That's why I came in.
That is why I make this analogy now.
Then the analogy is personal.
You understand? Before you can interpret a philosophical approach, you have to applicate your own intellectual in order to get it. I'm not trying to deviate. I'm not trying to deviate. I still follow the context, because Aristotle is talking about justice. Plato is talking about justice. Socrates is talking about justice, and all the justice is to achieve a common good.
No, let me get you corrected. But it's not that what you are at point. When Aristotle talks about justice, he lays down what he means by that. That is how philosophers do. Plato talks about justice. Remember, the justice of Plato is attacking people who killed his boss, and that's his own understanding of justice. Aristotle is now coming from his own side as a bishop or as a parish priest, talking from that background. So when you now say every philosopher defines things according to context, that is why we call it the numentological dimension. Okay. And also we talk about hermeneutical. You know about hermeneutic? You know what does that mean, hermeneutic? Hermeneutic is that make sure that you don't remove the word out of that text. That is what I'm trying to let you understand. Because what the analogy I said you're giving is very correct, but I just want you to, and that we must situate it in this context, right? Because this classroom, people are listening to us, and it's online too. So you have to situate it with common good of this particular Aristotle's philosophy of life, or political philosophy. And that is why the presenter applied those things. So if you just leave it to give these examples you are giving, maybe these your examples might line with Rousseau. Because when we get to Rousseau, it might be you're not perfect with Rousseau, because who will present Rousseau? You, correct. When he gets to Rousseau, you understand, come back to this thing, then you are now a perfect. You are not analogy perfect. But we're talking about Aristotle and the whole concept of common good. So that's what I just want you to be aware of.
Remember, we discussing about peace and governance and his contribution in governance. And if we are to recall back about
Can you go to
Socrates,
your summary? There's the way you summarize what peace and governance in relation to equality, so that you get to know everything should be in the context of the person.
okay,
Yeah, that is how to
Okay.
follow philosophers. I think it's here somewhere else. Yeah.
Okay.
Everything must
Okay.
be in
Can
line
you
so
just-
that you understand what is
because I'm
trying to
not
say.
seeing clearly there.
And any word the person used might be different from what your understanding is. So you need to study the person very well. That's what philosophers do. That's why their confusion is sometimes.
Actually, they are.
That's exactly what I'm trying to. It doesn't mean that what you're saying is wrong, but you have to situate it in the line of his own argument, because we have Aristotle today.
Prof, I don't see any differences with what I'm saying here, because justice collides with equity and fairness, and he is making a point on how to maintain
Everybody,
Huh?
everybody, listen again. The equity in question might be different from equity.
that is the equity he used in this context.
Yeah.
So what are you not saying?
No, that is the point.
No, this is the equity in terms of governance. What the view? What does it explain? Now, can you just explain his view? Let us just
Okay, no, hey, listen. At least at one point, I'm the one in charge of this class, and I have to direct it properly. Please get this thing, all of you. I'm telling you this. Just go and do further research. Aristotle might use equity differently from Socrates, differently from Plato. The content of that equity might not be the same with Rousseau. And the content of that equity in Rousseau might not be the same with John Locke. Who will present John Locke? You. I mean, please, every philosopher, don't jump into you have to get the meaning in the context. Because the way the person, for example, now, the good of a man must be the end of the science of politics. Please go first of all to understand what Aristotle means by science of politics. And when you see Aristotle say, align interests of rulers and the ruled to serve the common good, please go and study what Aristotle means by rulers and what it means by rule. There is more to that. Because there is that is why when you don't understand the context of philosophers, you misunderstand them, you misrepresent them. Because some of them are saying certain things to support slavery. And some of them are saying certain things not to dismantle slavery. So yeah, you have to go into a deeper meaning of it so that the way the presenter put his PowerPoint might not confuse you into going to study the main real meaning of what that philosopher said. Because this PowerPoint is just a summary of the presenter, the way he put it. So that is where I'm trying to let us know. And I bet you don't, I hope you know that my first degree and master's degree and PhD is in philosophy. So we have done all these things very well. So it's very, very tactful. Every philosopher, before you understand every philosopher, be very, very, very careful. So that is what I mean by here. So you have to understand his own context so that you will not misrepresent him in the context of another meaning.
Prof, I don't want to continue with this. Let me just ask my question
Okay,
because
ask another question.
if you recall back on the forms of man and the theory of forms by Plato, because I can't ask question without referring to what Plato has said. And I'm struggling to understand the theory of Plato and the approaches of Aristotle, because after the era of Plato stating the theory of forms, Aristotle came up with an argument countering what Plato has established already. You understand? Now, to just oppose these two, and remember, Plato just read on one angle. Why Aristotle read on different fields, including mathematics? Now, he is now countering what his teacher has already established, saying that the theory of forms is an erosion, that what he believes is basically on empirical and observation. Now, if we jump into theory of forms to use it to analyze or to compare the two approaches, because the empirical he made mention of both metaphysics, both what we are seeing. He stated that according to Plato, that the madness of a man is not what we say in physical reality. That there is some other place, which is our soul and the heaven. We as a human being, we are just a human being, but the content of human being, which is our soul, is somewhere else, according to the theory of forms, in my own understanding. Now, Aristotle countered that, saying that the object, the ingredients of an object is what is seen there. The quality is still there. Nothing separates.
Okay.
It is still there. So he is doing his own on basically observation and empirical. That's why he formatted mathematics in his own, both metaphysics. But what he's stating is that there is not divisible at all. And this is the confusion, whether to go on with theory of forms or to go on with theory of empirical and observation in this context.
Yeah.
Now, this is the question, number one question. Then the second one is about the governance. About the governance. Now, there is a place I saw, balance of wealth. Is it balance of wealth and poverty? How do we now balance wealth and poverty in this modern environment we found ourselves?
Okay, that is an assignment. That is an assignment. I thank God that you understand that the philosophers come from their different point of view. So the point is that we cannot solve their problem in this class. Yeah, that is the point. That's exactly what I'm trying to let you guys know. And thank God you summarize it very well. So the balancing wealth and poverty according to Aristotle, even though he's not a person you can avoid because he actually was a great philosopher. And thank God you mentioned it. He was believing his teacher, but at a stage he stood on his own ground to disagree with certain things academically. It goes back to what we're saying. When you still talk about this concept, common good, take it in the context the person is talking about it. I thank you guys. And any other question, any other clarification?
Benedict?
Any other?
I just want to clarify something you always say. Yeah. Okay. I just want to clarify what Prof always saying about the youth always criticizing the government. I just want to make it clear. Criticism is not a judgment. You understand? So it's something like it puts you on track to do well, to do better, to push. So I just want Prof to understand how we feel, the youth. Sometimes our anger, I know, it's not every time we should be so emotional to address issue, but criticism is not a judgment.
Yeah, you got it very correct. That is if it is a constructive criticism. But when it is destructive criticism, it is a judgment, which is very bad. Are you guys are you aware of the difference between the two? Hello? Okay, ma. Do you know the difference between constructive criticism and destructive criticism? Destructive is judgmental and dangerous, negative mindset. But constructive is positive. And that is exactly what you are saying. Because you have to criticize the leader, but constructively. You remember the good side, remember the bad side, and state why the bad side should be good. Proper solution. That is why it's constructive. Any other questions, please? Thank you very much. So I believe that those listening to us out there, that we have done justice to the way we can in this particular Aristotle's position. Look at the conclusion. Let's conclude in this way from the presenter. Aristotle's timeless insights connect ethics, governance, societal well-being. His famous assertion, the good of a man must be the end of science of politics. No matter the way you are doing politics, it must be for the good of people. This reminds us that governance should enhance human progress by integrating justice, rationality, and ethical leadership. Aristotle provides a blueprint for achieving peace and effective governance in any era. His works remain a guiding light for creating stable, equitable, and harmonious societies. Believe it or not, Aristotle is great. But nobody is perfect because we are human. Thank you very much for today's presentation, and thank you very much, Mr. Dixon, for leading us so far. Thank you. All right.